Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Filthydelphia from Forgotten Empires team, the developers behind both Age of Empires 2 HD Edition and Age of Empires 1 Definitive Edition. Now, today we're going to go play a scenario from Age of Empires 1 Definitive Edition. This is a custom scenario. Now, one thing that people may not realize is that we made a lot of improvements to the scenario editor for Age 1 Definitive Edition. Added some new features, basically improved the editor, so you can actually create your own custom scenarios in Age of Empires 1 Definitive Edition and post them on either ageofempires.com or AOE Heaven, two sites where people can download your creations. Now today we're actually going to view one of my own personal creations. It's called The Story of Exodus. Now if you're like me, you probably saw the Ten Commandments a lot around Passover time, which is about a month from now. It was an old Charlton Heston movie, I believe, where it basically told the story of Moses. Now, what I decided to do for the story of Exodus here was to bring that film to life in the medium of Age of Empires. So it's a 4-scenario campaign. We're going to start with the first one called Joseph and the Famine. Now, if you just want to go straight into the action, you're going to want to skip ahead a few minutes. I'm going to go through the instructions, the hints, the history, and talk a little bit about the scenario, and then we're going to dive right into it. Okay, so let's start it here. So this is the story of Joseph and his time as the vizier in Egypt during the great famine in that land. Joseph must not die. Joseph, son of Jacob, son of Isaac, son of Abraham, was sold into slavery by his jealous older brothers. He was imprisoned in Egypt for a crime he did not commit, but was freed when only he could interpret the Pharaoh's dreams, warning of 7 years of abundance followed by 7 years of famine. The Pharaoh made the young Hebrew a vizier and charged him with preparing Egypt for the lean years. The famine would come to Egypt, as Joseph predicted, and with it, Joseph's brothers seeking grain. Could Joseph forgive the very men who sold him into slavery? So here's the objectives: to accumulate 12,000 food and 2,000 gold before time runs out, bring the war chest containing trade goods from Joseph's brothers to the Egyptian government center, and it is not necessary to defeat the enemy factions. We're going to take a look at the history here. So the book of Genesis ends with the story of Joseph, great-grandson of Abraham and his brothers. Beyond being a morality tale of the transformation of Joseph from an arrogant boy to a sensitive, forgiving man, as well as a story of jealousy and ultimate forgiveness, Joseph's story would have provided the ancient Israelites with a historical and geographical context for their ancestors. Historians are skeptical of the biblical account, however, pointing to similarities in Joseph's story with an older story of the Old Kingdom vizier Imhotep. Further, different versions of the story portray Joseph's brothers Reuben and Judah differently, likely reflecting later political struggles between tribes descended from these two men. Therefore, regardless of whether the events occurred in history, the story of Joseph sheds light on the political concerns of ancient Israelites of a later period and the way they thought about their identity and history within the broader ancient Near East. So basically the thing with the story here is a lot of the events in the biblical Exodus may not have actually occurred. They're not really corroborated in contemporary sources like Egyptian sources. A lot of them were probably put down to paper maybe like 500 BC, about 1,000 years after the events that they purported to depict. But the fact that they kind of told the story kind of showed how Israelites of an ancient period of 500 BC, how they kind of viewed themselves and how they viewed their relation with Egypt and with other parts of the Middle East. So it kind of gave some insights. It gives historians insights on kind of how they view themselves. So here we're going to go through the hints here. Pharaoh fears a large army will eat through the grain supply. Therefore, he has sent the soldiers to the fields to assist in the harvest. You're able to train military units, but their cost and population room might be better spent on villagers. So again, it seems like something we don't really need to train a large army here. We're going to concentrate on objectives of gathering food and gathering gold. Many farms are now home to fearsome Nile crocodiles. These animals must be killed before villagers can safely farm. But beware, these beasts are known to kill a man with a single strike. So it's going to be some tough crocodiles we got to kill here. So teamwork is critical to hunting crocodiles. The reptiles will chase a single prey over great distance. Use this to your advantage by luring the beast within range of ambushing units. Okay, so I think we'll show some of that later. While the Nile River is rich with life, stone and gold can only be obtained in the harsh deserts far from the river, in lands inhabited by Shasu and Libyan raiders. Since gold can be difficult to mine, it would be wise to trade with the Canaanites. Trade requires trade ships and another resource in exchange, however, so it is much less efficient than mining. Now, this is one thing that those coming from Age of Empires 2 may not really realize. In Age of Empires 2, trade was just a way to generate gold. You got gold for basically nothing, right? For Age of Empires 1 Definitive Edition, you actually have to give up a supply of food, wood, or stone in order to get gold. So it's kind of like more realistic in terms of actual trade. And here, be deliberate in choosing which technologies to research. Some will aid you in your objective, while others only take away precious food from your goal. And do not worry too much about the enemies. Pharaoh does not expect you to conquer them. Concentrate on the objective at hand. So once again, we're going to go through. We're going to have to accumulate 12,000 food and 2,000 gold before we run out of time. And we have to get a war chest, carrying goods from Joseph's brothers and bring it to Egypt. So we're going to play here on hard. And let's get started. Okay, so we have about 3,000 years here. It's about 20 minutes. We're going to start immediately training villagers and start getting some food. We have a lot to accomplish here. We have to get 12,000 food, 2,000 gold, and we have to bring a war chest over. Fortunately, we have villagers here with a ton of farms. Let's get a little bit of wood too. We have more fishing boats. Since we have a good amount of wood, and we're going to also train some more fishing boats. Actually, we should probably be efficient about this and train them at different locations. We probably won't need the stone, so let's take the stone here and go up here to Canaan and start training with the Canaanites. Got 2 villagers chopping wood. Let's get more farmers here. And this is our hero. This represents Joseph. And now, see, there's these crocodiles here. They're now crocodiles, very powerful, 100 hit points, they do a ton of attack. We won't be able to farm these lands unless we kill these crocodiles, so I'm going to go ahead and bring our hero here and start attacking. Now, one thing about these crocodiles, they move pretty fast, but we can't outrun them with our hero. And so I figure we're going to just kind of bait them, hit them. Whoa, we aggroed 2 of them here, that's not good. My goal here is just to kind of bait them away from the farms. We could probably leave them out in the desert. I don't think crocodiles can survive very long in the desert. But we can also finish up the job here, kind of using the hills to our advantage. Archers can do more damage if they attack from on top of a hill to a lower elevation. These things are pretty tough here, aren't they? Okay, he's almost dead. Okay, now we're going to go after the second one here so we can start using those farms. Got to keep producing villagers here. We have a transfer boat. Actually, another transport ship here. I'm going to go ahead and send this transport ship, out here to Canaan. Here are the war goods from Joseph's brothers. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about, once I get settled here, I'm going to talk a little bit about the history and also what I was trying to do when I created this scenario. But let's try to find that other crocodile. I thought it was around here somewhere. Don't know where it is, but I figure we should also clear out some of these other crocs. Again, I'm aggroing 2 at once, not good, but at least they kind of get these crocodiles away from the farmlands. Looks like there's Libyan scouts or raiders, Shashu raiders, so it looks like they kind of moved maybe some of the crocodiles away. Very helpful of them. Very powerful crocodiles. I'm under attack somewhere, apparently. Alright. Now, one thing about this scenario is there are raiders, but you don't really need to train a very large military. It's better to kind of focus your population room and your resources on more villagers. So again, I'm going to keep pumping out villagers here. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to grab some of these guys here. There's lots of farms on the other side of the river. I'm going to place them here and have them start farming. I'll get a little more wood too. So my goal here is to be kind of smart about technology. Technology costs a lot, especially a lot of food, also gold, and those are 2 things I need. But at the same time, villagers can work a lot faster once you get up to the Bronze Age, so you get the real technology here at the market. So I think at this point, I'm probably going to go ahead. Oh, I need to get another tool age building. Even I forgot that. So I'm going to go ahead and build a barracks because I need to build like an archery range or a stable. I'm going to send Joseph up here. Might as well send this chest to the government center. Got 2 other troops here. Let's get this crocodile. Multitasking. Build a stable, I guess. Now the key to a scenario like this is kind of like an economic puzzle. Is I want to train as many villagers constantly at every moment I can. Okay. And I'm going to advance the Bronze Age. Now we have so many farms. I'm not worried about these going away. Yes, they're very close to the granary, so there's a lot of villagers don't have to travel far. But I have a lot of farms here that I might as well save the wood so I can trade later. So something's idle. I have them start farming up here. We're going to look in and start exploring a little bit. So basically, if you don't really know the story of Joseph, he was a favored son of the biblical Israel, I believe. And he had a bunch of older brothers. What happened was his older brothers were the sons of their father by a first wife. He then took a second wife and had 2 sons, Joseph and Benjamin, with his second wife. And as kind of often happens in history, kind of when you have a second wife, the children of the second wife kind of start getting favored more by a patriarch or a king. And so the first wife and the first wife's sons, you know, they see themselves as they're the first, they were born first, they kind of should have the first. Actually, I'm going to go ahead here and research the wheel. It's going to help a lot because these villagers are going to move a lot faster. I'm going to try to max out our population here with villagers. But basically, as I was saying, so what happened was the other older brothers were very jealous of Joseph for being kind of favored by his father. And so they decided to kill him. They actually then kind of had a change of heart and decided to put him in a pit, like in a well. And he was kind of left there until some traveling merchants found him and basically captured him and made him a slave, and they sent him off to Egypt. And here we have some gold here among these Shasu bandits. And so we can mine this gold to get us closer to the other objective here. So I see a camp here. I think I'm just going to do a little bit of clearing of it, but just kind of kill some of the enemy units, but I'm probably not going to spend a lot of time trying to destroy this camp. Okay. So anyway, as the biblical story of Joseph goes, he was a slave in Egypt. He ended up being falsely accused of committing a crime, and he was put in prison. And in prison, he met one of the members of the Pharaoh's court. He was like the Pharaoh's cupbearer or something like that, a high official that actually got imprisoned. And during that time, Joseph basically befriended him, and the cupbearer had experienced some dreams where he kind of didn't know what the meaning of the dreams were in prison. And Joseph had explained the dreams, and they actually came to pass. The cupbearer had dreamed basically that he would be freed from his imprisonment and train some more villagers. And so when the cupbearer was released, you know, he was very grateful of Joseph. The funny thing was he actually forgot that Joseph had predicted this. And it wasn't until maybe a couple years later or something like this that, I replenished some of these farms here, that the Pharaoh was having these really weird dreams. And the cupbearer heard about it, and he had basically said, "Hey, Pharaoh, I knew this guy in prison, basically, that knew how to interpret dreams. Maybe we should go find him." And so the Pharaoh brought him out, and Joseph explained to the Pharaoh what his dream meant. That basically they were going to have 7 years of abundance followed by 7 years of famine, and it was kind of a warning. And so Pharaoh's believed Joseph, and basically made him, supposedly the story goes, he made him a vizier and put him in charge of preparing Egypt for the coming famine. And actually, I'm talking a lot and I realize that I'm kind of falling behind some of these objectives here. So I'm going to try to pay a little more attention to what I'm doing. I'm looking at the pace we're getting food. I think we're getting food at a pretty good pace. So I'm gonna get more wood so we can trade more woods and replenish some of these farms that we're losing pretty quickly. But at the same time, I need to start getting some gold. So I'm going to go ahead and build a storage pit here. I'm going to bring my units back here just in case the Sashi bandits are getting a little aggressive again. I'm very careful here to make sure I don't have many idle villagers. Ooh, it's coming close. Now, one of the things is I didn't pay attention was I ran out of stone, so I'm going to start trying to trade wood so I can generate some more gold here. Ooh, I may not be able to. This will be embarrassing if I can't finish this in time. I'm going to look for more gold, actually. So anyway, in designing this scenario, my goal was trying to how do I kind of reflect the story of Joseph, basically just managing Egypt's economy and preparing it for a famine. The Age of Empire is obviously very focused on building up and warring and stuff like this. You know, how do you kind of make a scenario focused on what's basically like economic management? So basically, my intent was to have you just have basically an economic puzzle. You got to figure out like how do I manage resources? How do I manage building, training villagers and advancing? You know, there's pros and cons. Yeah, I spend 1,000 food, or you know, to advance and to get wheel, but I could have probably used that food closer to achieving my objective. But then again, if I didn't use it, I wouldn't have these faster moving villagers because of the wheel. So kind of this is an economic puzzle to kind of solve here. Ooh, I lost one of my swordsmen. Now at this point, it looks like we're going to hit the food objective, so I need to go all out on this gold. Ooh. Oh, still really die attacking me. Okay, I think we're gonna have enough food. I think I gotta quickly get over here and start mining. Come on. So we hit the food objective. So at this point, get all these guys out of here. You guys gotta go as fast as you can up here and get this gold. It's gonna be a close one. Go, go, go. The famine's coming. We're gonna run out of food soon. Ooh. Damn. Very clever. Worked. I don't care if you've been attacked. No, don't get stoned. Well, I don't think I'll make it. It's very embarrassing as creator of this scenario if I just barely miss it here. Oh, very close, very close. You know what? I'm going to try again. It's a very short scenario, about 20 minutes. I'm actually going to start off a little slower. I'm going to take the speed down to 1 just so I can kind of very micro manage this here. Okay. Honestly, I think I got distracted by kind of telling the story. So I'm going to kind of concentrate on just talking about what I'm trying to do here and kind of leave it at that. So I've got basically setting everything up, got fishing boats. Could probably use some more fishing boats. There we go. Concentrate on the food. Also getting some woods. If you notice, I didn't really replenish many farms. Eventually I had to, but I think that the fishing ships and maybe some trade ships would actually be pretty good to have. So I'm gonna kind of pay a little more attention to that. I'm gonna try to lure these crocodiles away. I'm getting it back to 2 times speed. Okay, got 2 villagers on wood. looks like that one crocodile was chasing somebody away from me. That's good. Actually, I'm wondering if some of the raiders have like scouts. They could probably just have the crocodiles follow them all across the map. That'd be good away from me. Ooh, see, I gotta keep producing villagers. Gotta keep making them. In fact, also probably should make some more fishing boats. There's a little stuff there. So, one thing I covered in the history was that the story of Joseph has a lot of similarities with the older story about the old king of Vizier Imhotep. That basically he had had some dreams where he was able to figure out that Egypt was going to face a famine. And so he basically was in charge of the grain collection and carried through Egypt so the people didn't starve, basically. And so you kind of see the similarity. You see that similarity a lot in ancient Near Eastern stories, especially like biblical stories. You have Noah and Noah's Ark in the Great Floods was also in the story of Gilgamesh and some other stories. So you see that kind of like Middle Eastern cultures influence each other, and the ancient Hebrews kind of borrowed from a lot of stories of their neighbors. Now the question would be, why would, let's say, ancient Hebrews, maybe from like 500, 600 BC, why would they basically add an ancient Egyptian story about Imhotep to their own tradition? It may seem a little weird, but the thing is, it happens all the time in history. Especially, I know that there's stories that supposedly, like, the ancient Scottish people were refugees from the ancient city of Troy, you know, from the Iliad, from Homer's Iliad. And, you know, you see these stories, a lot of times I think what it is a culture wants to kind of have a greater importance or greater relevance, so they kind of attach themselves to pre-existing cultural stories. And so that's probably kind of what happened here with the story of Joseph. I don't want to offend anybody that, you know, may, you know, say that the Bible is exactly what happens. Historians aren't really convinced either way, but I just kind of, that's one of the prevailing theories that the story of Joseph kind of didn't actually happen in history, but was borrowed from ancient Egyptian tellings. And that's something true probably also about a lot of the other pieces of the story of Exodus. Maybe some of the exact things that happened that Moses described as having done may not have occurred, but there may have been some type of historical figure similar to Moses that did live. So here we're going to collect the trade goods in the war chest. See, I'm talking, I keep forgetting I'm not producing villagers. I may have been in a similar situation I was in last time. Actually, what I should probably do... Let's quickly advance to the Bronze Age. I think I've waited too long. Let's make another fishing boat. We got this. Let's go archery. Now let's do this. Probably the best place to chop wood is up there. Come on. I need wood ASAP so I can advance. Okay, come on. I don't care, just make this as quick as possible. Okay, we're gonna advance. Let's bring these guys up here to chop this bit up here. Actually, you get back to farming. I'm a little concerned because I feel like I might have messed up by waiting a little too long to advance the Bronze Age. I'm going to try to get some of these, clear out this gold mine now, so I can start mining. I'm trying to think about every efficiency. I get these guys are walking a little further. Let me bring them to the closer farms. Almost out of stone, so I'm gonna have to start transitioning wood for trade. Let's clear out this area a little bit more so we don't harass the villagers. Keep pumping out villagers. Get the real critical resource, I think, or critical technology, I should say, for this scenario. I don't need as many of these. Transport ships. Kind of wanted to see how this looked a little bit. Probably need the population more than anything else. Okay, wood. Start trading for getting wood. Let's build another one here. And send these guys out here. Okay, now they're going strong. Probably don't need this many villagers. Let's go up here and quickly make a storage pit. Start mining gold. And I'm going to send my troops up here to clear out the other gold mine in case I need both. Okay. 120 food, I'll get more wood. I got idle villagers, it's not good. Come on. You know what, I'm going to have to start punishing farms that are near the granaries. So I'm going to go ahead and research woodworking. Now, one thing we added here in the latest patch is automatic reseeding on farms. I'm a little hesitant because I kind of want to use up farms that are around me, but I think I need more wood too. So what I don't want is initially both trading wood. Okay, no, you don't mind stone. Come on.
Erectus.
I'm a little concerned about idols. Come on. Let's add more fish around there. Well, that's not good. Lost my other... Oops. I think I cleared out this area. Nope, still not. For the bonus. Okay, I can still get more villagers actually, funny enough. Okay, come on. She should have the mine gold, I think. She certainly someone up here too. I mean, like I said, this is kind of like a puzzle scenario, because you gotta it's just like razor's edge here to try to get all these resources in time. Oh boy, Joseph is close to death here. So that concerns me, because I don't think Joseph can go to toe-to-toe against these guys up there. Oh no. No. Well, that's embarrassing if I lose this way. I almost want to sacrifice the villager here. Well, he's just going to run around, I think. We're close to the food goals. I think I want to go all in on... Yikes. It's kind of funny. You just barely outrun him. Oh, and here comes some clubmen and stuff. Come on, just survive long enough that I can mine this gold. Seven hit points. Come on. Okay, I need to slow down time because I can't do this all at once. So it's trying to do... No. Don't let him hit you. Don't let the lion attack you either. Yikes. Okay, so I need to mine gold. Got a ton of idle villagers. Okay, come on. So I need to take all these guys. Oops, not the fishing boat. They need to just mine gold as fast as they can. And I need to take him. Okay, so this is Razor's Edge stuff here. Let's see. The Hoist idle villagers. Oh, they don't have any gold left. Okay. And we're like 200 shy. We gotta get these villagers up there as fast as possible. And poor Joseph here is going to be running for the rest of his life. Okay. Ton of idle villagers. I wish there was gold around here somewhere. Oh, we're exploring all of Egypt with Joseph. 130 years. We're almost there. So once these villagers get there, I think they'll be able to accumulate that gold pretty quickly. I didn't research any gold mining techs. And in this case, oh, so close. 2 hit points. Now, what I fear is that there's going to be like an archer out here or something that's going to get him. Come on. Come on, I'm under attack somewhere too. Come on, almost there. Almost there, 1966. We got this, 60 years left. We're gonna make it. We're gonna make it, guys. We got it. 55 years left, basically like maybe 30 more seconds here. Joseph's running for his life and we got it completed. Whew, okay, so Joseph forgave his brothers and they came with their families to settle in Egypt. In time, however, Pharaoh forgot the good that Joseph has brought to his land. He became distrustful of the foreign Hebrews and forced them into slavery. So basically, the famine had gripped all the rest of the Middle East, and Joseph's brothers way back in Canaan had been sent by their father to Egypt to buy grain, basically. And so they came, showed up. They didn't realize that Joseph was a vizier. Joseph ultimately forgave them, and all the Hebrews basically settled in Egypt. And then after some time, the Pharaoh kind of became distrustful of them and he enslaved them. And that kind of set the stage for the later parts of the story of Exodus that we're going to get to in the subsequent scenarios of this campaign. So just kind of, if you're curious, going to kind of go through some of these very quickly. Had 17 kills, only 5 losses. Not very military-focused scenario, but very, very focused on gathering resources in a short amount of time. It took 2 tries, but I was able to manage it at the end. So, I hope you enjoyed this playthrough. We're going to go ahead to the next scenario in a subsequent video. We're going to now turn to the story of Moses, so stay tuned. Again, this is Filthydelphia with the Forgotten Empires team. Have a great day.